Oh,
You've been warned.
one, two, three. That's it. That's all you get, Warren.
All right. Well, OBS is showing our faces, and I'm seeing our voices. So I think, well, I should say I'm seeing the volume levels on the voices. I'm not actually seeing.
Woo!
I don't see sound. Just to be clear, although that isn't a signal you've probably had too much espresso if you're starting to see sound. But
I
that's
think
my understanding.
let's not have a conversation today. Let's just make guttural noises so we just see the
Yeah.
sound go up and down. That may be
Yeah.
more entertaining than
It
this
might
talk.
be.
I'm just
It might be.
suggesting.
No, I mean you're probably not wrong, right? I mean it is very beautiful to watch the microphone levels and to wonder, am I speaking too loudly, or what happens if I do this? Oh no, I just spoke too. I don't know. I mean, it's a mystery to me. I'm not a professional. I'm very much an amateur when it comes to this. Should be very obvious now after 50 episodes or whatever. Anyway,
what
we
what do
have
they call
fun.
this thing? That's
I
all that
believe it's called
matters.
between chair and keyboard, but
Ooh.
that's subject to change. And once again, OBS decided to change my zoom window pixel to one size today, and that's I don't know. I can't explain it, Glenn, but
Well, I think it's just trying to help us see ourselves in the grand universe of things. We're just a small cog in the big universe, is what's
that is
going
true.
on
That is
here.
true. It's
Man,
it's
did
an
we make
expanse, if you will.
Ooh, I like the drop there. Boom. All right, name dropping episode. Here we go.
We'll get into that after we do your origin story, because it's funny. I was doing a live training last week, and I said I was talking about patterns, and I made this comment that patterns give us the shorthand. I can say singleton, and I've conveyed a whole lot of information in one word. And I said that's not uncommon. It's very typical to hear someone pitch a movie or a TV show as it's like this thing except blank. And so I said, right now I'm reading a book series that's like Game of Thrones except in outer space. And one of my attendees immediately pinged into the comment, The Expanse. I'm like, yes, exactly. So we'll definitely have to talk about that. And I want to
That
blame
person is educated.
right now, Raju Gandhi, it's all your fault for recommending this series to me and now committing me to, what is it, like 182 books? I'm not sure.
Oh no, he did not.
He did. He did. I made the mistake of asking Raju for a book recommendation. And what people need to know is Raju reads about, I don't know, 800 books a year. And so for him, the Expanse series was like, a Tuesday. And for the rest of us, this is a life commitment. And I didn't fully appreciate what I was getting myself into. So thanks, Raju.
I read like two, maybe three books a month, and when you hear somebody can read that, you're going, how?
Yeah.
Are
No,
you human?
I don't, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah. Well, I mean, it could be worse. Like Venkat writes 2 or 3 books a year. So
right?
wonderfully lifelike.
I know. I'm just like, I think if we were just to look at them a little closer, the eye dilation may
Hmm.
not be
Hmm.
quite right. Dropping that Blade Runner there a little
Something.
bit. I
Something.
mean, slightly enhanced human kind of thing. I'm just saying that I'm impressed
It's
that they can do
possible
it.
we're all in Westworld and we don't even realize it.
I think you might be right. Dang it. You had to bring it to the dark side.
Sorry.
Really.
Sorry.
I know.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
Reality, there you are.
That's
Welcome
right.
to it.
That's right. Well, good afternoon, Glenn. How the heck are you, buddy?
I am doing good, Nate. I think everybody's just turned off.
That's fine. I don't I mean this to be very, very clear, this show for me is just a chance to hang out with my friends for like an hour a week and pretend that I'm doing work. And so far it seems to be looked at that way. So cool.
I like it.
Right. It gives me a vague excuse to play around with various technologies. So, it's good. It's good. And like I say, it also kind of forces me to reconnect with people every so often, if for no other reason than to ask if they'll, kindly be one of my victims and hang out with me. So thank you for being
Oh,
today's
I thought,
victim.
this is like, oh, we're not getting paid to do this? Huh?
Well,
Oh,
I mean, I
dang
guess technically you and I are, but
Technically, we are. Technically, yeah. Well, you keep
that's
meaning it
very
that
ancillary to this
way.
whole thing, right?
No, I actually appreciate
Uh,
the request. I was like, oh, come on. You want me to talk just nonsense for an hour? I could do that.
right, right, exactly, exactly. So we have a first time chatter here. Let's see, I don't know how to pronounce the rest of it here. Just JVA. As Adam Savage says, the difference between science and goofing off is writing it down. So we just won't write it down, and then
Thank
Glenn's just
you.
goofing
I
off.
appreciate
So
that. That's what I need to
I do,
hear.
right? We're just goofing off. That's fine. It's a holiday week. It's a holiday
Oh my
week, buddy.
gosh.
Are you ready?
I'm I, I'm ready for the holidays. It was funny. Somebody says, when you taking all next week off? I said, no. I said, I've got, I got to finish out the 2021 year. I got to
Mm-hmm.
do like these things because when 2022 comes in, oh boy, with the spring stuff, the spring 6 and boot 3 stuff coming up and all the stuff down the pipe. And we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah,
But it's
we'll get
just,
to that.
oh, it's going to be a busy, big year, really good year. So I'm looking forward to it, excited. So we'll talk about that later after the show's over.
Now,
No,
if I look at my calendar, yeah, that's for the post show. That's got
that's
nothing to
post
do with it.
show.
Yeah, it's just JVA. Okay, I got it right. I tried to pronounce it, so I shouldn't do that. I'll just have to say it out loud. So according to my phone, today is the 20th of December, which if I can do some math really quickly in my head, says we've got, I want to say, 4.5 shopping days left since it's already noon here central at least. So
Yes.
are you ready? Did you get what you needed? Is everything going to be delivered on time?
Okay. So I'm okay. If you haven't figured it out, I'm weird. So, oh, yeah. Well, it goes back many years. So
I mean, I
I,
don't think, dude, you're not any weirder than the rest of us.
so what I do is like year round, like if like a family member needs something, it's not like we're spoiling them or whatever. It's like you need this or you want this, and we discuss
Sure.
it. And I know I kind of get it for them then. So my wife has got into this doing what's called pouring, which is these various ways in which you pour. She's an artist and pours paint. So like
Ooh.
this whole year, it's like she wanted to do these experiments and try these things. I'm like, approved, like you need to ask, sorry, we're married, just approved, you know. But that's what we did this year. And I was like, what would you like for Christmas? She says, you bought me Christmas all year long. And
Mm,
I went,
nice.
you're such a good wife. But of course I got her a couple of things. So, I
Of
mean, we're
course.
good there, but
Nice,
it's,
nice.
yeah, it's more like, something under the tree thing more than it's
Mm,
like, the big diamond ring under the tree. It's
right,
like, but
right,
we try to do that year round. So, and having two college kids, it's like, hey, pizza's in the fridge. They're done.
right, right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I know the feeling. Last year my wife made this comment to me. She said, "I won Christmas." I'm like, really? She said, "Oh yes, I won Christmas," and she was correct. She nailed it. She got all sorts of cool stuff for me. But this year, I'm like, I think I may have won Christmas. I'm pretty proud of some of the things
Ooh.
I snuck into the house over the last, 3 weeks. So, couple creative things in there, I think.
Aha. So,
I,
so
I
I
helped
got a
our cats
strange
buy
thing.
us something.
It's always a mystery what the cats will bring to the house
Right,
for Christmas.
right.
You
Yep.
know, it could be, I have, like you, have a couple of indoor cats, and
Mm-hmm,
it's like, whoa, what's a special thing? I don't know. It's probably that toy they live in the middle of the hallway, and you go, ah, what's that?
mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
not like the Lego bombshells the Lego landmines your kids used to leave on the floor, and you'd step on in the
True.
middle of the night. Usually they're a little softer. So just.
Well, apparently Christine got the kitties some catnip toys. She wrapped them and then put them in their stocking, and then was surprised
How
when the
long did it
stocking was on
last?
the ground later that evening. Okay, apparently it had been in there a week. Excuse me, I didn't have
Oh,
all the
well,
details. My producer is talking into my ear, giving me additional details here. But yes, apparently it took them a week to figure out it was there or how to get it off. I don't know which, right? But they were not able to get it out of the stocking. But they very much did
oh,
knock the stocking off the shelf and were
it's the
trying hard.
opposable thumb. It's the
Yeah, yeah,
missing
these things are
opposable
amazing.
thumb. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's how that works. This morning, my cat was very much trying to get into the bedroom, and I'm like, no, no, I'm trying to sleep, and not to be. He's tried to open that door, and he's succeeded before. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen once they figure out how to do that.
It literally means that you will probably be sleeping in the hall and they take over
Mm,
your bedroom.
probably.
That's
Get
usually
out
what
of
I'm
here.
thinking
This
is
is
going to
mine now.
happen.
Right, right,
Yes,
exactly,
has
exactly.
been claimed. So just letting you know, I understand that's the reason we keep our door closed at night, but then you start hearing the knock, the
Uh huh.
scratch,
Uh
the
huh.
meow.
Yep. Yep.
You know about that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for people who don't own cats, we love them, but they own us.
I saw a great sign, and I can't remember if it was at a vet's office or if it was at like a pet grooming thing, but it said dogs have owners, cats have staff.
Yes,
Hmm.
very much so. And right now, my cat overlords are not around, which is unusual. This is their time of day, which they kind of come around. Maybe they know I'm online, and they're like, "Oh well,
Well,
we don't want to
see
be
that
filmed."
that attracts mine. Mine get very excited when I'm online. They want to be a part of it for reasons that are obscure to me. Realize they're very cute, and so they're like, "Hey, look at me, look at me. I can be part of this show too." So it's all good.
Yep, and like I see, you have a stand there so that you can open up the
I do.
blinds and they can get kitty TV. I have a same
Absolutely.
thing right here
Yep.
by mine,
Yep.
so at any time I might have a cat or two here looking, watching the bird feeder, etc. out front. So,
Yeah. No.
yes,
Windows is Netflix for cats for sure.
absolutely. And I'm staring with them, and sometimes I find it quite entertaining too. Like I see what you're.
Hmm.
Oh man, that is good. This
Yeah.
is
That's.
good.
I like this season. They really did some interesting things here.
Yeah, like that bird.
Did not
Yeah,
see
that
that
bird right
coming.
there. Oh, that squirrel. Oh, that squirrel. Oh, I got you now, buddy.
It's it's like
Folks are
Succession right there in
hanging
front of you,
up.
man.
There's gonna be negative numbers by by the time this talk is over. Just letting you
It's
know.
fine. It's fine. We'll eventually get to something technical when we feel like it. But
Oh well,
all
it
right.
gets
Well,
there. It gets there.
hello, the literal season. Yes, exactly. Just JV. I always like to joke that to most of the population, spring is just a season. It's not, in fact, a Java framework.
Well,
So
it's like the shirt that I'm wearing. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
you know this, but folks, you'll see this is my shirt,
Team
and
Spring.
it's not professional. Team Spring, but if you read underneath, it says because winter hurts my face.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
just saying.
I hear you there.
And we haven't said it yet, but should we start right now before we get too far along? I just want to say, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
No,
I have
no.
the literal. Speaking of you, this literal button
Like
right
you mean
here.
this one right
Yeah,
here?
this right here, buddy, right
Yes.
here. Because I know a guy. I know a guy, and
I
then it just showed up at my
set you up.
house. So I appreciate that, brother.
I'm just saying.
Just
Just
say,
saying.
with all due respect, Glenn. With all due
Oh,
respect.
I missed that part. With all due respect, I missed that part.
See now for folks that aren't familiar with Bless Your Heart, I was just actually talking to some fine Southern folk about this. You know, no, you can use it apparently for good, which I did not realize,
Yes,
Glenn.
you
I did not
can.
realize you could say it in a positive
My
way. I
wife
always thought
does.
it was you could say it just purely as a sarcastic way of essentially absolving you of saying something very horrible about someone. So you can make the most horrible comments about someone. This woman makes the worst pie you have ever eaten in your entire life. Bless her heart.
Yes, that has absolved you of any insult whatsoever. But then again,
Exactly.
it's like there's like what was it? There's like the bless your heart levels. It's like, oh, you poor soul, you screwed up bad. Bless your heart. That's
Hmm.
that's the
Hmm.
that's the satirical. Then you have the one underneath that's like, oh man, they did have it rough. Bless their heart. Then you have like the pot, and that's more like the pot roast. If you're in
Mm.
the South, if there's somebody sick, you always bring them food. That's the bringing your food one. Like,
Sure.
oh, they're sick. Oh, bless their
Oh,
hearts. We
bless
need to
their
bring them
heart.
some food, like
Yeah.
macaroni and
Yeah.
cheese, or
Right. Right.
yeah. So that's the kind of that pecking order there. But the
Yeah.
actually one's used least, I think. I think the other one's like the satirical one where it's like,
Totally.
ooh, bless your heart. Oh.
And I guess it's unclear to me if they're like double negatives. So if I say, with all due respect, bless your heart, if that cancels them out or if that stacks on top of each other.
I think they're positive, so they have to be stackable.
I
So
think they're stackable.
I think they're
Yeah.
stackable because it's just it is just you know just trying to tell you that bless your heart. Yeah, that maybe it's like an amplification of one or the other.
Right. Well, again, if you roll all three of them together, I mean, you have clearly said something that we won't say on air. I don't want to
Uh
get either
oh.
of us fired. I don't want either of us to have a quick Slack ping from our management saying, "Hey, listen, we need to have a talk."
You get those too?
I don't know what you're talking about, Glenn.
They don't let Glenn out. When I was growing up, I helped out on the farm, and I'm going whatever with that. Throwing hay, working in the field a little bit, all that good stuff. Then my dad wanted to make sure I wanted to go to college, because I already knew I was going to be a programmer because, of course, I had the C64, Commodore 64. Then I went to the 128, Commodore
Mm.
128. Well, I was big. Yep. Did all the sprite, did the machine code stuff, loved that. I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to go to get computer science.
Oh,
But
you
my
knew
dad
that
said,
early that you wanted to get into comp sci.
oh, well, you see, I had a counselor that said, with your handwriting as bad as it, you're going to be a surgeon or you're going to be a programmer. And I looked at my hand shaking, going, I better be a programmer. Yeah, literally, that's what he said. But I was like, I already
Funny.
know I'm going to be a programmer. But I enjoyed it. I love geeking out. And then but he wanted to make sure, and he says, "How would you like to make $7 an hour, which was twice minimum wage, right?" So I was like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "Well,
Yeah,
you
that
can
sounds
work
good.
out the mill as help." And so I went out and worked at the mill for help. And when I finished that summer, I went back and I said, "Not only was I sure I was going to college, I'm definitely sure I'm going to go to college."
Right.
So I started college, and then amazingly, I got a job at a pawn shop. And when I was an extreme introvert, working at the pawn shop taught me how to simulate, as I did say simulate,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
extrovertness. So I am an introvert, but I, I have an extrovert side, but it's
Right.
really, really, really small. Um, and so I learned how to be an extrovert there, or to simulate it. And then I did image analysis. So when I was in college as a paid intern, I was basically, yeah, as we all did in college, it was ramen noodles because that's about all that job would have paid for. And it was like, yeah, I had only could get the chicken and the veggie because the other flavors were like a dime more, and I couldn't afford it. Yes, and I can tell you at the Winn-Dixie, I could tell you exactly when they put out yesterday's sandwiches out at half price. So you've learned something there, haven't you? So I mean, it was a great job. Basically, I tailored software to do everything from measuring the cornea of rats' eyes, so that for research for eye medications for Duke University, did that. Measured roots, the growth patterns of roots, nerves. Oh my goodness, what else did we do? We did some image analysis for cancer patients, and how to identify chromosomes that were cancerous or not. And it was the backstory on that was is when somebody says, what science did you take in college? Did you take physics? I went, no, biology. And they went, biology as a computer science? I said, yep, because I went to one of the top, like what the top at the time, top 20 geneticists in the world. And he says, I want to be able to capture this one part during cellular mitosis, so that, and I can't remember, but they were big enough that they could analyze with the gear we had at the time.
Sure.
And he said, and I said, what's cellular mitosis? So that's a basic biology 101 question. And he
Right.
spent the time to explain it to me. I went, oh, okay. And I started coding along, and then I realized it, and I went, I don't ever ask a person like that kind of question. So I took biology in college right after asking him that, so I would never ask such
Sure.
a basic question again. Oh man, we did all sorts of stuff. Oh man, it was a fun. Then I graduated. Did consulting for a while.
Mm.
Did that pass? Worked for corporations. Became an architect. And then I said, you know what? I want to do something a little different. So I got into field engineering and in sales. So I did that for a while, and then, but that introduced me to open source,
Okay.
right? Not like the open source, like I'm going to pull down the project and use it. It was more like I need to contribute back a little bit because I need to do something here. And I was working for Terracotta, if you remember them.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I was a field engineer for them. So if you ever called at one time 1-800 Terracotta and you asked for support, and guess what? Once every 6 weeks, you heard my voice going, "Hello, this is Terracotta. How can I help you?" Um, and so I did that. I was doing training, but then I got, like I said, and I was doing sales and all that. But then I got into open source a little bit and started like writing blog. I did a blogging for a little while, and then I started, actually contributing back a little bit. And it was like, this is cool stuff. I mean, not only am I in the environment using it, I'm actually adding back to it. Um, so I did that, and then Gunnar Hillert said, we have this thing called Spring, which of course I'm like, I was like, oh, I know about that. And he says, if you're interested, why don't you apply? And I'm like, well, first off, there's no freaking way. Those people are like masters, Uber masters and stuff. I could never try it. And I interviewed, and I went. My wife says, I went through all the interviews. She says, well, you think you got it? I went, no. And but foolishly they hired me on, and to this day I'm sitting there going, one of these days they're going to figure me out. But that was like 8 years ago. And what it showed was, but I work on these wonderful people they're great folks, and they're
Yeah.
impressive, and they're honest and humble. I hate saying that. It sounds like I'm being, over complimenting, but they're really great folks. And when I try to say, hey, we're hiring, and I tell folks like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm doing it. And if I can do it, guess
You can
what?
too.
You too. And so that's how I kind of came to Spring, and
Sure.
it's been great. So, but it was interesting that for my interview process, they was like, show us your GitHub account, and I was like, okay. And it was like, yeah. And they started going through why'd you make this decision? Why'd you make that decision? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? And I'm like, and in some cases, like I had really good reasons. The others, like, I can't remember. And this is back in the days I didn't write great. I didn't follow I think it was like Chris Beams or whoever wrote that great article on how to write good PR comments. Like, why did you do
Mm,
it? What does it
right,
mean?
right.
And it's like, and back then it was like committed, done, woohoo. But it was good. So, but that was the thing. But like it's like I said, me getting started was actually writing a few blogs on some stuff that I did. Let me share with people what I did, so they don't have to learn how to do this anymore. And I
Right.
need to get back into it. It's been literally since 8 years since I really. No, I did some for Spring. I've done some blogs for Spring, but did that. But um, in our pre-show, we talked about how to get an open source.
Yeah. Yeah, that was going to be my next
And
question. What advice would you have for someone who is interested in trying to contribute back to open source?
I'm going to give you the professional line, and I'll give you my line. And
Love
a
it.
lot of projects now have getting started labels in GitHub, right? For new committers only. Um, Look for those. Boot does it. I try to do it on Spring Cloud Task. And it's things that we've really spent the time to define it out, and so that you can take and grab it and use it. And then what we do is we go back and help you through the process, right? Um, that's one way. I would say there's even some simpler ways. One is read the docs. And if you find a mistake in a doc, or find something missing in a doc, or better yet, a hiccup in the docs, that's a perfect submission to come in and get your foot into open source, right? The documentation is so critical to how we communicate what we're doing, or any project's doing, to the world. And so if you can make them better, go for it. If you think there's a bug out there that you've seen, and or there's a issue, go for it. Give it a shot. We had a person this morning on Dataflow. He submitted a PR. He found a great bug. And in this case, I reviewed it, and I left a few comments on it. Needed little bit of work. So don't be surprised if you do write something and it gets accepted, or we might
Right.
comment back. It's like, hey, can you make this one change? Or, we found this one scenario. Don't read it as we're like shaking a finger. Read it as what I just said. It's,
Right. Right.
hey, we noticed this. Can you do this? Right. And that's, as a person who is a contributor and a committer, as a committer, I really love PRs that come from the community. I
Yeah.
think they're great. And then, if you're just saying, well, what else? There's other things to do. We have a thing called Java users groups, and we have community groups. Feel free to, if you think there's a lightning talk you'd like to give, or a talk, We're always looking. Like I'm like a member of AJUG, like Atlanta Java Users Group. But if you've got like a Chicago Jug, C Jug, Garden State Jug, New York Jug, St. Louis, Dallas Mug. Oh my gosh, I'm missing a
Oh,
ton. I
so many
know.
of them now.
Yeah. Um, please send out. Hey, I want to do a lightning talk on test containers in Java, or I want to talk about this new, Project Panama or Loom, or hey, I'm doing this thing with records, or I'm doing this thing pattern matching. Great lightning talks. That is another way because contributions come in not only through the code, but information you share with the community.
Yeah.
And community is, oh my gosh, it's this huge thing that you can get into. So it's giving talks, it's blogs, it's documentation, it's writing, updating and adding features to code, fixing code. Um, if you are, like with Dev Nexus, and we'll talk more about that, but we look for volunteers. Volunteering is great. Um, so many ways to get involved, and I'm excited when I see new faces coming in, and I'm like, come on in, join the
Right.
party, woohoo!
Well, and I
So,
think to your point, Glenn, there's so many folks think the only way I can contribute is with code. And if my code's not up to snuff or I don't know the code base well enough to be able to go in and do something, well, not even close. I mean, there's so many other ways you can impact the community in a positive manner. I love the documentation piece because I will tell you, as a consumer of Spring, that is one of the things that y'all have just nailed. The documentation is so good, the examples, the tutorials. And people think that just sort of like magically happens and it just sort of springs forth from your head fully formed. A lot of effort goes into that, and it's
oh
very
my goodness,
easy
yes.
to miss a step or to, oh, this changed in this version. If you find that, like, please, like, let us know. That's the only way we can fix it half the time.
And it's not only that, it's answering the question, or it's only, sometimes we found this bug, but I know that some companies, talk to your advisors. I know some companies are like, we don't want you to contribute back unless you get signed permission, yada yada. But talk to you if you have a company that has something that in that place. Talk to them and saying, I found some issues here that I think I can fix. They're low yield, or like, or not, or low risk in that they're updating docs. And now, mind you, updating docs incorrectly is high risk, right?
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest, right? The docs are as important as the code in that sense. But it's like you're not revealing any secrets, corporate
right,
secrets, right? As
right.
I'm trying to say there. Um, but it's getting involved in those types of things that really push the community forward. And like this morning I was going through, and like I said, there's another one. I was looking at Spring Batch, and somebody said, I found a hiccup in the docs. It's this or this. And I went, good question, right? In the docs. Mind you, what I'm going to do is go peek through the code and then submit a PR, or even I might even go back in and say, hey, here's the right answer. Would you like to submit a PR?
Yeah,
Right. And so it's that kind of value that you get. And like I said, folks, get involved. It's you have my thank you for any project. It doesn't have to be Spring, any project. Oh man, just jump in with both feet and enjoy, because I tell you what, you can say I contributed to X project,
yep,
and it's kind of that little bit of I helped, right,
yeah.
which is great.
Well, the
So
other thing that I always think about in these terms is you have folks who are new to it and they think they don't have anything to add because they've only been working with it for a few weeks, a few months. And I think the opposite is true, that when you're new to
bingo.
it, it's even better because you don't have any preconceived notion. You don't have any preconceived knowledge. I mean, how many times have we written something where we skip a step because everybody just knows you need to do this. And then the new person comes along and says, well, wait, I don't get it. And it's like, oh, you're right. Because we're seeing it through the eyes of an experienced user as
Yes.
opposed to someone who's brand new to it. And I think that's such an invaluable resource.
One of the things I did, this I proposed it like 2 years ago, and I think to Spring One is I said, let's just have a what is Spring talk. Just I
Yes.
mean just ground zero
Yes.
talk. And you're like, well, you're saying it's ground zero. I'm like, no, no. There are people out there that don't know what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amazingly that
Mm-hmm.
could ever happen, right? No, but I mean, I was like, there's more of the world that doesn't know what Spring is to what you know, what is it? And I said, well, let's just push that out there and see. And they said, okay, well, let's do it. And the numbers are off the charts.
Yeah.
And part of it is that what I want to say to the world is like, we, at the Spring Group, we're like, come on in. Come on in. We love you to jump in, and I don't mind telling you the story. How did it form? What's the
Hmm.
foundation bits? What's the new bits? How does this stuff stack up? What are we doing new this year? Or this, gosh, this, what, few months? And I mean, everything's just so fast. Um, and it's like but it's part of it is I'm excited about what I do with Spring, and
Yeah.
it's like I want to share with the not only the people who've been doing it for years or the people who've been doing it for two, but I want to bring people who have never heard of it before. I want you to like come on board, jump on board. We got plenty of room on this ship. Jump on board. We're COVID spaced, so don't worry, we're in good shape. Come on in. And so that's the reason I introduced that talk. And I've even like at DevNexus said, let's add more bread and butter talks, not just for Spring. I
Yes.
mean, the whole gambit,
Yes.
because we have so many people that haven't done, what's Juke, right? Oh my gosh. Even like, it's like, okay, what's Kubernetes 101? Um, I don't know what a operator is or a controller. I don't know what those things are. Well, a lot of people don't. Let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And let's have that bread and butter chat. Um, and bread and butter, if you don't know what it means, it's just saying I have never played with X. It's been out there for X years, but I've never played with it. What's a good way to get started with it? And when you
Right.
look at Spring, it's like, whoa. Or what is Java? And you go,
Whoa.
whoa. Or hey, I've been in Java 8 forever and I want to go to Java 17, and then you're like, how do I get from Spring 8 to Java 17? And you got like Jean's got great talks on, this to here.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, let's get Jean in and have her just let's take you from here to here. And while that's not to say a bread butter talk, it is a talk that says, well, no, it's been out there for 3 years, or Java 17's only been out there, or has been out there for or several months. How do I get into it? And I'm like,
Right.
well,
Right.
let's lead you in, folks. If you ain't beginning at something,
Yeah.
you know, we're all beginning at something.
Well, and I
So
think to your
jump in.
point, we have this belief that everybody's on the bleeding edge and everybody's been, working with Kubernetes since day three, and everyone's been working with the latest, release of Java or Spring or whatever. They're on release branches. But there's an awful lot of folks who are constrained for various reasons, and they don't have that luxury of just playing with something brand
Right.
new when it comes out. Plus there's sort of just the reality of, well, I kind of want to wait for it to stabilize a little bit, or I don't know which one of these is going to win yet, so I don't necessarily want to get diving into that. Or you know what? I have a family and I have hobbies that I don't necessarily want to spend 8 hours at night banging away on technology. And so I think it's a reminder, because I took your talk as sort of motivation. Well, I probably need to be talking more about this too, because come at this from a fairly new point of view, and there's so many people who don't know how to get started. They don't know where to begin. And you and I are old enough to remember when Java in a nutshell was a thin book. And
Exactly.
the last copy
Yep.
I saw of it, it's like you could use it for a chair if you needed to. So we forget that there's a lot of folks who still need to make that transition, and we lose sight of that because we all get excited about, oh, look at the latest shiny bits, and it's like, well, yeah, but we got a lot of folks who don't even know how to get started with the bits that we played with 5 years ago.
Well, I mean, you think about like 3 years ago, what is native compilation for Java, right?
Yeah.
It was this little project called Graal out there that some people are talking about, and now it's like, the Spring Native is 011 came out and it's going to be incorporated in Spring Boot in a few months. And you look at what they're doing, I worked with some of the samples, and I worked like the task sample or Spring Cloud task sample, and worked that, and then I found a hiccup over here in another project, so I submitted a PR for it, and we worked it together. And now he's sitting there playing with it, and now I can take and what was experimental, extreme experimental 3 years, it's kind of like getting to that point where it's like, okay, this thing's ready for live action.
Right.
And
Right.
when Boot 3 comes out, and our Spring 6 come out too, you're ready to rock. I mean, we've put in all these hints in for you, but even then, okay, but even if you do that, if you're using other bits of code out there, you might have that hiccup, and then guess what? You're at that ground one position
Yes.
or ground zero position, and I got to learn all this stuff up. Um, and you know what? Just because I did it, you know, last year and I was doing those bits, and you might be doing it in 2023. Guess what? We all started at ground one,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you know, but even if you go to like a conference or you're listening to videos or reading books, and you know, it's like, oh my gosh, it's been out here for 4 years. We all started at ground one.
Yeah.
I say zero, but that sounds bad. Ground one, and we worked our way
Hey,
up,
zero's a
right?
number too, Glenn.
I know, but you know, I didn't want to be Christmas at Ground Zero, Weird Al there. If you, yes, you've heard the song, so there you go. Um, but you know, it's exciting to learn the new stuff. But if there is a technology out there that's even just been out there a few years and you know it's going to fit, but you don't know how to do it, ground one is a great place to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to remind folks it's okay to have these talks at conferences,
Yes. Yes.
as well as the bleeding edge, like you know some of the stuff that I've. Oh man, I just got through doing the paper reviews for DevNexus with the folks on there that team, and oh, it was awesome. And you see some of the new ideas, you're like, well, that's far out.
Yeah.
And but then you see the middle tier talks. There's like, okay, this is how we're advancing, and then you have the beginner talks. I'm like, far out. We need to have that. That's a great
Yeah.
talk. And then on those ones, you're like, I'm gonna sneak into this one over here. Why? Because I have no idea what it is, even though it's been out there for 4 years,
Right. Right.
right? And so as a person that does the talk, that works with like the Pratiks and the Vincents and the Burks and the Laura's, and you know, that help put this thing together. You know, I miss a lot of those, but sometimes I'm like, I need that 2 to 3 o'clock hour so I can sneak and listen to this live, so I can ask the person a question. So, oh, by the way, I go all over the place. Have you figured that out?
Oh yeah. No, that's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of this. Well, that's also a good reminder to folks. If you are new to something, do not be afraid to put out a blog post, a YouTube video, a Twitter thread about your experience. Here's how I learned this thing, or here's where. Because I tell you what, you're gonna run into something and fix it, or you're gonna. This is how I got around this. You are gonna save somebody hours of time by getting that out into the ether in whatever way you're most
Yes.
comfortable with, and it's a great way to kind of build a little of your own brand, give back a little bit, because again, we've all had that experience playing with something new. You bump into something, you figure it out, take the time to write it down, or again, get on a YouTube video or something, just get it out there to folks and share that, because there's somebody out there who was going to run into that, guarantee it.
Can I add two more to this,
Of course you can.
just to muddy the waters of how to
Please
get
do.
involved? Okay. I'm gonna, Stack Overflow, or if your favorite questioning site, you see a question asked, you know the answer, um, write the answer out.
Yep.
It is amazing how many people, you're talking about how can I get involved, or how can I, if I want to work for XYZ company, you say, hey, yeah, I answer questions on Stack Overflow, or I go on a GitHub and somebody asks a question as a GitHub issue, and you can say, oh, I know what that is. And when I see that, that's like spectacular to see folks getting involved in those zones. So it's not only the documentation or the code or the blogs, it's also answering questions,
Hmm.
and those are valuable, because how many times have we gone to that site and you go, you put in that text of that exception that you got, like, I have no idea where this is, and you find that one answer on Stack Overflow, or at least that, even though it may not answer your question, it leads you into that thought
Yes.
pattern of,
Gives you the
oh,
hint.
I could think of it this way, as that hint.
Mm,
It's so valuable. So um,
yeah. Although there's nothing quite as
yay.
soul crushing as finding your exact problem on Stack Overflow, and then it's tumbleweeds,
Yeah.
or worse, person
Yes.
posts the question, and then some number of days later, weeks later, oh, fixed it, and then didn't bother to say what
How?
they did, and you're like, why? Why do you hate me? And you think, like, what life choices led me here? Is it too late for me? Should I become an electrician? Is there a better way to make a living? I don't know. I mean, maybe professional fisherman. Maybe that's the answer.
Oh, hold on. Let me think about that and ponder that. Oh, no, but see, it's like this. I love to code, and I, like you said, it's like this coming holidays, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to learn a new IDE and kind of get comfortable with it because I may start transitioning to it. I don't want to pick favorites because that's like a religious question, like do you use VI or not, right? Um, but but that I was going to kind of do that, and then there's like this, there's some stuff I want to kind of putz with where I work on the ephemeral side of Spring. I work on the short-lived app side stuff. So I work with Spring Cloud Tasks, Spring Batch. I work with Spring Cloud Dataflow, kind of putting those two bits into that project. I'm getting involved in Spring Cloud a little bit more, and then poor Oleg is probably shaking his head ruefully. I'm kind of getting involved with Spring Cloud Stream a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I said, this is going to be weird. Me, a task person and an ephemeral person working in like a long-running process stream-based app. Worlds could collide. Monoliths appear outside
Do
Jupiter,
not
turn
cross
into
the
another sun.
streams.
I know I'm coming close. Look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Um, and so it's you get involved in some projects and you get so that's kind of what I do as a daily life. It's like, what does Glenn do at Spring? And people go, we ask that question every day,
Mestre.
including me. Yeah, that's true. It's out there. But it's exciting to be a part of like some of the, again, that batch has been out there for how many years, right?
Right.
Gosh, it's like one of the oldest Spring projects, and then Task has been out there for like 5 or 6 years, and Stream's been out there 5 or 6 years, and then you're talking about base technologies have been out for a while and thousands of deployments, and then you look at like the native stuff that you kind of I by the way, I first off, I just worked samples with it, and I think I submitted like a couple of issues for other people's fixes and whatnot, but like the Sebastians and the Andy Clements, and I'm probably missing other people who contributed to that project. Like, wow, they were amazing. And I would ask a question, and I was like, they're going to thunk me for something stupid. They're like, huh, good question. So always know, if you ask questions on us, like Stack Overflow or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, don't be surprised. Kind of think, well, if they answer really quick, that's okay. That's good. It's good information. It's good transfer. That's really good. But sometimes you have to also know they go, huh, that's a good question. So always imagine you might get that response out there,
Right.
because I know, like I said, I get it too. But that's, I just want to say, this is what I work on in Spring. This is how I do it, and these are some of the new stuff I played with. And so, like I said, only person dreading is Oleg. I'm like, hey, can I work on this on stream? Oh no.
I mean,
Really?
yes.
Come on.
Can we distract you with something else? Is there?
Yeah, I know. I think my mood, who works on Spring Batch, probably does that too. Hey, Glenn, look over there. There's a shiny thing, and my ADHD goes,
Hmm,
"Whoa,
what? Huh? What? Where?
huh, what? Oh, shiny rock."
Well, I want to echo that. Is just how welcoming the Spring community is, how great people are at answering even very basic questions. Because God knows I've asked plenty of them, and I just think it's important for folks to understand that if you have that question, you're not the only one, and don't be afraid to ask. It just throw it out there, and people are not going to bite your head off for it. I was playing with something one morning after I'd landed in the UK, so I was jet lagged and sleep deprived trying to get a demo to work, and I couldn't get it to work, and so I finally broke down and threw something in the Slack channel, and Dave piped in, and I went like, "Oh, sure hope
Oh
I."
no.
And I'm like, "Did I Google everything before I came in here? Like, did I'm like going back through my processing, my reasoning, like, yeah, no, I don't think I can fix this," and it was really interesting, and it's like, yeah, no, this it's yeah, there's a problem in the documentation. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, okay, good. It wasn't me. Like,
At the time of this recording, of course, a lot of people are having to go through, do all the updates for the CVE for the Log4j2,
yes.
and I think it was Josh says, "Hey, Glenn, now mind you, this time we're doing a scan through our codes and making sure that we're okay, and making sure that the advice we're giving is good, and which the Spring Boot team already did it, and I was already submitted all my notes and saying, okay, task and batch, or and mind you, my mood is the owner of batch, and my gosh, Ben Basine is fantastic at that. He's the project owner of that, and name dropping, but man, he's a great. These folks are fantastic. And
Let me
he
pick
and
those
what it
up for you,
was,
Glenn.
yeah. But what it is but so Josh Cummings comes in and his Slack pops up and I see, that CVE number and he's like, and I went, and I think he found one in the projects I was in. I was going, for about half a second, and it was like, and he was asking, he's like, I'm thinking about submitting this type of talk. What do you think? And he was asking advice, and I was like, oh, okay. And we talked about it for a bit, for about 2 seconds. My heart stopped.
Right?
CVE, and then I wanted to go buy that T-shirt that says "I survived the CVE." So and so for J2. I think Stack Overflow put that out there, and but yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, but yeah, that for all those folks that are going through that right now, you're doing the right thing by doing it. We all in the world appreciate you. You're going out and securing up your servers and doing that. It is appreciated. It's I know it's a lot of hard work at the end of the year, but thank you, folks. And
Yeah, no, it's a good reminder of the importance of that and having a process in place for sort of turning that crank when these things occur, because this won't be the last one. And
no,
it's important for us to know that if we encounter those, that we know how.
oh. And then that's like, it's 10 o'clock your time and at night, and you're going, what are you doing? Oh, I want to see what projects are out there that are going to, okay, yeah,
But
and
it's a
and
reminder to
understanding.
me of just how dependent so many things are on software, and how dependent we've gotten on software that's in many cases maintained by two or three people, or maybe even just one
Yes,
person. And I think we've kind of taken that for granted in a lot of ways. And I think it's a reminder too to, hey, thanks for all your hard work pitching in on this. And thank
yeah,
your folks over the holidays here that are dealing with these issues.
yeah. I'm thinking about the people that own the projects, all the way down the people who are all the way down. Glenn, slap your hand. All the
Bless your
people that are
heart.
just, yeah, bless my heart. Thank you. I needed that. But just the developers that are working for the business, and they get the call that says we need to release this before as soon as possible, and they already had their stuff planned up and ready, and they got to stop and those plans and work on this.
Right.
These things will happen, and that's one of the important things of having a solid supply chain and making sure that when something like this is found, that it's identified and people can work it and get their releases out quick and identify those issues. And even with like this particular one for Log4j J2 went from 215 to 216, now 217, on the release notes as I keep finding things as it goes up. um, it happens, and it's the good news is that it didn't stay out there and linger too long. We
Right.
found it, fixed it, right, and that's the key right now. So, oh well. Okay, I sorry I put this through the just the dark area there. That evil
Well,
chat. We were doing great. Then I brought it in the gutter.
all right. Well, you know what?
Yeah,
We can shift gears. We're good at that.
please.
We're agile. We're flexible, at least figuratively. I don't know about literally.
Yeah, literally no.
I gotta stretch out that
Emotionally,
shoulder
yes.
here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stretch.
Stretch before you get involved, right? So are you streaming anything? You got anything that you recommend here?
Oh.
We gotta. I mean, this is the ubiquitous Ted Lasso segment of the
Okay,
show.
I don't have Apple, and that was it's like I need to get Apple just for the Ted Lasso. I know,
So you really
and
need to
so
watch the Ted Lasso mustache special. It's like a 4 and some odd seconds, long, 4 minute and something little thing they put together. It's quite cute and funny, of course, because it's the Ted Lasso folks. But Ted Lasso is God's gift to the pandemic for sure. The content we needed.
yeah, the so okay, Ted Lasso is one I got to catch.
Yes,
That's
you
a
do.
to do. I got to finish the video, the Expanse. Okay, I started, didn't
Yeah, we
finish,
talked about that at the
paused.
beginning.
Yeah, paused. So I actually had to write one for my wife. I keep forgetting the name, but it was like Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin, Martin Short. Oh
Oh,
yeah, that was the one I said, okay, we got to binge this. I binged that and did finish. It was like what? No, it was like it wasn't like where they like you did the like on the like the Disney ones where it was like the Scarlet Witch or the or Hawkeye where I started and then paused for a long time and then picked it back. Well, not the Hawkeye, that one just started, but I was thinking
Right.
about the one Winter Soldier,
Vision, Winter
right?
Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then finally got and finished it. I don't consider that like just the the your that's like kind of cheating binge watching. But I did do the Only One Murders in the Building, the Lower Decks, which is Star Trek Lower Decks. I did binge those, and Animaniacs. I binged those,
Oh
the
God,
newest stuff.
Animaniacs.
Okay, I know. Yeah, you can see where this conversation's going. I did. I actually went through a binge and reading where I went back to like some of the classics because, of course, the movie Dune coming
Mm.
out when it came
Mm-hmm.
out, I was like, I'm gonna reread the book because the last time I read it, I had, I was 14, which means that was
20 years ago, right? 20, 10,
yeah.
15.
Well, let's put it this way: just celebrate my second anniversary, my 25th birthday,
Nice.
and
Nice.
so yeah, well,
Congratulations.
actually 51ish now, but I was like,
Okay,
didn't
that's
want to
close
say
enough.
that plus one. Yeah, yeah. So I reread Dune, but then I said, you know what? I It's been a long time since I read 2001, so I reread
Oh God.
2001.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, now I get it. Now 14, I'm reading it going, but at 51, it was like,
Mm. Mm.
okay, I got
Mm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing a couple of the classics, and I did that. It was actually a lot of fun. I Robot, um, Fahrenheit 451. Trying to remember
Oh
some of the
yeah.
others. Yeah, so it was like I went in and kind of reread those as like like a middle-aged guy versus a teenager, and went, oh, this is pretty fun. So
Well, I agree with Thindle in our comments saying I have too many things to watch right now. Completely agree with that. There's far too much Expanse, Wheel of
yes,
Time, Witcher, Star Trek Discovery. I'm unfamiliar with this one. Did Lower Decks start up again? Is a question from Thindle.
yeah, it's
I don't,
season 2 now. They did a
season two.
season
All
2
right.
on it, and I caught up on it. I haven't started Discovery yet. I did the Picard, but can you count like last year's binges for
Oh,
this
of
year? I
course,
can't really
of
do
course,
that. Oh, we can. Well, then
of
yeah,
course.
then throw
But
that in there.
I will say this much. I am convinced now, having lived in both the era of network television schedules and, summer reruns, season, all that stuff. I think binging is the way TV was meant to be consumed. I really do. And
Yes,
I've gotten to the point now, and this is challenging with certain shows. I'm going to throw Succession out there as the example. I have yet to see season three because we were waiting for it to spool up
to
enough because there's
finish.
nothing exactly because now that I've got all the episodes there, I'm ready to go at it because I don't want to get to that point where you like run out and you're like, oh, now what? And then I got to wait a week. Like, are you kidding me?
I know. Well, it's like, have you ever started a binge and you're going, this is not going anywhere?
Mm.
I don't know. And there was a couple of shows I won't mention them. I don't hurt anybody's feelings, but you get into it and you're going, no. And it wasn't like the others. Like sometimes I take a pause, like, okay, I watched it, but something else came up, and I'm like, I gotta do this other stuff, and then you forget that, freak, I didn't finish that last binge. So I got to pick it back up and finish those binges. I mean, let's say we got to finish. So, but yeah, so that's what I've been binging on,
There you go.
and
I saw someone tweet recently something along the lines of, my teenager thinks this strategy of having cliffhangers and releasing one at one day a week is really novel and interesting. Like, yep, that's what we used to have to do.
we
And
did.
we we've rolled through, I don't know, maybe 8 seasons of Friends, and at the end of season one, I told Everett this is what's called a cliffhanger. You used to have to wait until next fall to know what happened. We can just go to the next episode. It's
Yes,
like
the
what?
loss of suspense.
Did you have like power back then? Did you have color? Like was the world black and white? Like, yeah, no, it was a dark era in human history.
And back then, you could only go 10 feet from the phone emitter that was wired into the wall, and we called them telephones.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, we forget these slabs of glass were not in fact the way we always used to communicate with one another. Yeah.
Yep, it is. It's truly, and it's funny. It's like so I got to do a plug. It's shameless. Is it shameless if I do it now?
No.
All right. So DevNexus is coming up. 2022 is coming in April. It will be in person. Contingents that all it based on what I'm seeing, we still go forward based on even with the, like we said, the next letter in the Greek alphabet. And you and I've chatted before that this is a horrible way to learn the Greek alphabet.
Terrible, terrible.
But with Omicron, but contingent that the numbers are down. It will be in person. It's looking really good so far. It's planned for, like I said, April, mid-April. I think it's 14th and 15th, 14th to the 16th, I think.
Yeah, I
And
should have it on my tab here. Let me see if I can find it.
yeah,
Like
see,
glance
that's
down. I'm
coming
thinking
up.
of. Yeah, I see
And
11 through the 13th is what I got
11th through
blocked out.
13th,
So
I'll take that.
there we
I'll
go.
buy that.
All right.
So that's where it's to be. We just finished majority of paper selections, so hope to announce those really soon, and so that you can see what folks are going to be in. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. And I name drop like crazy, but like Vincent and Pratik are like, they do a grand job of just organizing, leading us, the rest of the board through that. I tease people, it's the highest paying job I've ever had. I have a closet full of jackets for all the
Yeah, y'all do
volunteering. It's
great
fantastic.
swag. There's no getting around it. It's awesome swag.
Yes, what was your favorite swag that we gave out beside that T-shirt?
Well, I mean, this is one of my favorites, right? And every year there's a T-shirt. I'm like, well played, well played.
Yes,
The ski jacket I've actually worn quite a bit. I enjoy the vest. I end up wearing quite a bit. I
I do
mean,
the vest. Yes,
man, it's just always somewhere
the
I'm like, that's
backpack
actually
was
darn
mine.
okay.
The backpack. I was like, this is a really nice backpack. Now, folks, talking about volunteering opportunities, don't, if there is something that you know really well, submit your talks to conferences. Just make sure you do, just there's even some tutorials and sessions out there how to write an abstract. Feel free to jump in those. I love taking in first time, when I'm reviewing them, I love first time submissions. That warms my heart. And don't be surprised if we see a potential and we're like, can you just change this title a little bit, or can you add just a little bit more here? You'd be surprised that those come back because we see the promise of a new speaker, and I love doing that. So please, if there's something you know a lot about, and you're not seeing it in the conferences, and there's one near you, or one you want to participate virtually, or like I said, the jugs, please jump
Hmm.
in and put them in. These are we're looking for new speakers. And it's not like I love our tried and true speakers. They're fantastic. But I love seeing new speakers pop in. So,
Yeah, I can
man,
confirm that one, having been on the other side of a CFP process on more than one occasion. We've poked back and said, "Hey, let's tweak this title a little bit, and could you maybe alter this a little bit, and can you talk about this?" And that's definitely part of that process for sure.
absolutely. And by the way, everybody has their first time on stage. I
That's
remember
a great
my
point.
first time. And Venkat, I appreciate Venkat in so many ways, and is that he tweeted out something the other day, and he showed his pulse. Did you see the one where he put out he had like his pulse, and it was right before he was about to go on. It was like 120
Mm-hmm.
beats,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, yeah, I know that you still get a little bit of nerves going up on
Right.
stage,
Right.
but um, guys, folks, it's wonderful when you can get up there that first time. And believe it or not, some people say, well, somebody's going to ask a question that's just going to throw me. Believe it or not, you will have that from time to time, but for the most part, people want to learn
Yeah.
and they listen. Out of all the talks I've ever given, that happened one time where somebody tried to do a stump the chump. And I can tell you, here's your answer. I'm going to sit here. I know we're out of time. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no.
That's a great
We'll go till
question.
we go.
Yeah, hey, if this is how you answer, that was a great question. Can you come back after the talk and ask again, and I'll see if I can find you the answer because we don't know all the answers,
No.
right? And so that is your response. If somebody asks a question you don't know, if you don't know, look it up. You both learn something. And I do have people ask questions that I have no idea. I'm like, that's a great question. Let me go look it up.
Yeah.
Or let's go find out together. Come back to me after stage. And I like people asking questions. That's the only thing that I kind of miss on the online realm is that you don't get
It's
that
tougher.
interaction. But I do love the tracks after those virtual talks where people can ask questions. And even in live, I love it when we just chat in the hallway. I
Hmm.
love it when they have to usher us out of the room too. It's like the next person's about to talk, and they have to usher us out of the room. We're all talking on the way out. Those are great. So,
Yeah, walk and
folks,
talk is perfectly fine at real events, folks. It's okay.
yes, and it is believe it or not, it is appreciated unless you're late for your flight. And even then, it's like
True.
we're going to walk and talk faster as I make my
Right.
way to the
Right. Yeah.
train,
Uh-huh.
taxi,
Uh-huh.
bus. What
Ride
you've had that
share.
happen before, right, Chair?
Oh
You've had
God,
that happen too.
I've had all of that happen to me. No, I will
So
second that. The vast majority of people in your audience actually want you to succeed, and
yes,
they want to learn something, and I've always viewed my job as to give you a nugget. If I can get, even if it's just one or two people to walk out of a talk with one or two little things that are going to help them, I've succeeded.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So if anything from this talk, folks, I just want to encourage you. I don't think me and Nate had no real planning on this at all. It was just
No,
this is where this thing went organically. But I just want y'all to jump in on both
please
feet
do.
on the open source conferences, asking questions, because I just see like there's so many brains out there, and if we can put them all together in this technology field of ours, my gosh, wow. And sometimes the biggest thing is like I don't think I know and I'm not sure I'm good enough. Guess what? I know you hear this. It's not a motivational talk, is it?
I mean, it might
Okay,
be.
no,
I don't know.
it might be, but no, get out there and enjoy. You know, submit, and you'll be surprised. You'll be like, wow, I actually had the right answer.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, you have a lot of right answers. And even if you may not have answered it exactly right, you are probably helping somebody saying, that's what I thought too. And that happens as well, right? And so
Yeah,
it's
imposter
exciting.
syndrome is alive and well in this industry. It affects way too many people, and I think everybody's well served by just taking a step back and going, "Yep, you're little Stuart Smalley, right? You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you." And
Yes.
you
Sorry
know,
Night Live,
it's fine,
1982.
it's fine,
Or
right?
sorry,
Yeah, I
1992.
guess I'm showing how old I am now, right? I'm
Me
quoting a.
too.
Well, I saw it on YouTube. I never saw that live. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't. I no, that was way before my time. But no, it's I I agree with you. I hope if people take nothing else out of our conversation today, it's to throw your hat in the ring and contribute. You have something to offer. Guarantee it. Everybody does. And I wish more people felt more comfortable doing that. And I think that's part of our job too, right? Is try to make this more welcoming and for folks to feel comfortable doing that. And so hopefully
Yes,
after you and I talking about it for an hour, maybe that'll help somebody get up the courage to give it a shot.
absolutely, absolutely. Let's see what else. So, any other questions or?
I don't know. Is there anything else we didn't touch on? Let's see. We talked about cats. We talked about the Expanse series. We talked about Ted Lasso, and then I mean, I'm feeling like I need
Yeah,
to
all
just
the Star Trek
send
stuff. I
you
think we're doing good here.
an
Yeah.
Apple TV so that you can watch, that. Although if you got an
Now you know
iPhone, you
what I
can
want
watch
for
there too.
Christmas. See, now you know what to
Ted
send me for
Lasso.
Christmas is
Ted
it? Yeah,
Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Yes, that's it. So that's
So
what I need.
little known fact, because we don't always tease out our guests very well on the show, but
Uh oh.
I've already got scheduled Neil Busing and I talking about season two. So that is scheduled. I'm not going to tell you when. It's coming. It's going to be the next one about Ted Lasso. So just say that. But and
Oh.
I've got a decent chunk of January, February, March blocked out here. So we got more shows coming. We're gonna keep doing this till I guess people start saying no when I round them up on Slack. See, that's the problem, Glenn. Y'all are just too dang nice. I hit you up on Slack and you're like, oh, fine. Will this make you go away? It's like, yeah, I suppose.
No, it's fun because see, all right, okay, personal admission here. Um, I listen to podcasts like like even like this one. It's not podcast, but video or podcast. I typically listen when I garden
Yeah.
and or when I hike or when I fish. And or like I do that like if somebody's giving a lecture on like YouTube and I'm watching it or listening to it, then I'll have to stop like in the middle of the lecture or middle of the gardening. Hold on, I need to watch it because they're doing a live demo here. And you're like you're standing on the path in the woods and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, wait a minute, he's got a real or she's got a
One
really
minute,
good point
one
right
minute.
here. And oh man, that's a great point, right?
Mhm.
um but that's what I like about this one is like there's so many. I'll get through like so many deep tech stuff, and there's like some podcasts out there that's like it does lead you and it does enrich your brain, but it's also just a lot of fun to listen to. So I made a mix a BCAC with that, like a off heap or a couple of others where it's fun to listen to, but it's either motivational or you're learning as you're kind of laughing, and
Yeah.
that's what I love about this program too.
Well, thank you, buddy.
You're sitting there going, what was the one that was, I was at the gym the other day, and no, it's like the other day, about 2, 3 weeks ago, and I was watching one of your back episodes, and I started went, ha, 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 and of course the 5 other people are in the gym because I go at a really
What's
weird
wrong with
time,
this guy?
looking at me, and it's like, hey,
It was funny.
it's the
Trust me.
weights, the blood, yeah, the blood drop,
Right.
just
Right.
yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's euphoria, man. It's the endorphins.
It's endorphin. Yes, Reiner's high.
Stacking
I don't run.
plates, baby.
One, I'm done. Yeah, stacking plates. Does one count as a stack?
Sure, absolutely,
Yeah,
because you could have zero. So
that's true. Bar weight. You do have
bar
something
weight.
called
Yeah, that's
bar
right.
weight,
That's right.
and
There's
that's
nothing
fine.
wrong with that.
Of course, folks, y'all wasted another perfectly good hour.
Well, and again, just as a reminder for those that are watching live, you only have a few days left to get your Christmas shopping done. So good luck to everybody.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, yes. And
gift cards
cash
are
is
nice
good.
too. The cash is
Hey,
good. Cash
cash,
always fits.
cash is good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you want to send cash, here's our address.
Just saying, with all due respect.
Bless your hearts for doing it.
All right, my friend. Well, I think I've taken up more than enough of your time. I very much appreciate. I just didn't figure too many people would be interested in chiming in. I didn't want to take anybody's time either around this time here, but it all works out in the end. Um, but yeah, in the meantime, man, I wish you a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. And hope you get to take some time. We could do some fishing and some hiking and some
I'm
gardening.
ready.
There's no gardening for me now because there's snow on the ground. So gardening is
Yeah,
over.
gardening is over
Yeah,
for me, so it's either going to be hiking, fishing, or well, kayaking, and when it gets a little warmer. I don't have
there you
the
go.
wet gear,
There
so
you go.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I
yeah.
hear you. I hear you. All
So
right. Well, thank you again, my friend. I appreciate it.
happy New Year to
We'll
you.
see y'all guys in the new year. Oh my,
Happy New Year, folks.
happy
Take
New Year.
care.